And this is where my biggest challenge is. I didn't really feel it. And I always had this sense of how could I trust that things would work out if I couldn't see any results straight away. But then I realized that Hi everyone, if you're new, I'm Dr. Lewis Thomas. I'm a general practitioner and a disillusionment coach. So today I'm going to talk about something more personal, and it's basically how I'm reprogramming my mind to make a huge career change from being a doctor to becoming a life coach. Let's be honest, this isn't an easy journey, but it's the kind of process that you have to be self-aware of while it's happening so that you can actually make progress. So let me tell you how this involves reprogramming my mind. For the longest time, I was on this very predictable path, which started in med school and just consisted of this repetitive cycle of attending lectures, studying hard for exams, passing exams, and then moving on to the next stage. Then once I became a doctor, it was the same thing, but it was just that shift work was an additional part of the cycle. So I was still reading and watching lectures and studying and then passing exams for specialty, but I just had a lot less time to do it because I was working. So I still knew exactly what was going to happen. I was just going to follow this path and then become a general practitioner. That whole process was 5 years of medical school and then 3 years of general practitioner training, which means I was doing that same repetitive cycle for 8 years. So you can see why that had become part of my brain's internal programming. And even though it was hard and it was effortful, I always felt comfortable because I always knew what was going to come next. So I could predict my future with certainty. I knew that I was going to become a doctor, I was going to have job security, I was going to make a good living, I was going to be a respectable member of society. Like, that was the narrative that I was living in. But after several years of actually being a GP, I started to have this uneasy feeling, and it was because I knew that the sort of narrative path, that cycle, was leading to a place that I didn't want to be. I couldn't really see myself being in that place in the future. That life that I would be living based on the things that I was continuing to do was not the life that I wanted to live. But at that point, the idea of doing something different, of doing another path, was just terrifying to me. Like, it was something that I felt was not possible to do. I only knew this one standard, structured, predictable path. So I think when things started to change, it was because I started to think about my core values. So I was feeling the yearning for freedom, for purpose, for meaning. Those were my core values. And these weren't things that my career in medicine was providing me. At least I got to the point where they weren't providing them me anymore, and I knew with certainty that they weren't providing them to me. And I think what delayed things, what sort of put a spanner in the works really, was that I was so caught up in negativity of just feeling this hatred for, entitled, demanding patients and the media vilifying us, and everyone just seeming to throw their workload, in the direction of the GP, and just feeling this sense of being underappreciated and not respected. And that took so much focus that I'd kind of lost track of what it was that I really wanted, what I did appreciate in life. I was just kind of in this autopilot mode where all of these external factors were dictating my life, rather than focusing on my internal values. As if even the hate that I felt had become part of that program. I was just so used to it, just used to hating my job. It's like, everyone hates their job. It's just, something you have to deal with. It wasn't just about things that I hated. It was the judgments of other people. So I knew that people thought being a doctor was, seen as a well-respected job that's well paid and, would have these opinions and expectations in terms of saying things like, oh, why wouldn't you want to be a doctor? Surely that's a great job. And that judgment was what made me feel, actually, like, why am I having these thoughts? Like, it made me question myself more than it should have done. Inside, I was hurting from this job that wasn't giving me the energy I needed in life, but I was just too consumed by the external factors to really do anything about it. I wanted to sort of stay in the familiar, comfortable path that I'd been on for so many years. There's a reason that as humans we've evolved to avoid pain and discomfort because, back in prehistoric times that was usually associated with danger or an actual risk to your life, which obviously isn't the case now. But for the majority of people, their balance in terms of how they make decisions in life is always going to be tipped towards the side of comfort. But when I started thinking about those values, freedom, purpose and meaning, when I started focusing on those, that's when the scale started to tip from comfort to those values. And it was when I was like really sort of yearning for them, I started to think about the possibility of actually going into an unknown path because I didn't want the comfort anymore. I just wanted the freedom and the meaning and the purpose so much that I knew that I had to do something different. I had to change, this program that I'd been set on. So as part of my calling in life to be a life coach and have the freedom and autonomy to do what I wanted, there were a lot of unknowns that I had to figure out and put together in order to create this path which keeps on unfolding. So the thing that I'm getting to is that it's been about a year since I seriously committed to changing paths in life. And I'm still having these moments where I'm fearful of the unknown. And I've just been looking deeply into those moments and trying to figure out what's really going on there. And I think what it comes down to is that I've always known what's going to happen, but now I'm on this unknown path where I know what I want, but I don't know how or when it's going to happen. And that's something I've never had to really deal with. So I find myself at times thinking I'm doing all of these activities, but when is it going to come into fruition? When do I get the exam results? Do you know what I mean? And I think the most important thing that's helped me to overcome these fearful moments are appreciating the difference between knowing something, which was my previous path, and believing something, which is my path now. So in my old path, everything was predictable and based on proof. That was knowing. Whereas now I have to believe, which means by definition, accepting that something's true without any proof. And this is where my biggest challenge is. The idea of believing in something without any proof felt impossible for me to do. As in, I knew intellectually how it was helpful, but being honest with myself, I didn't really feel it. And I always had this sense of how could I trust that things would work out if I couldn't see any results straight away? But then I realized that the unknown is where all possibilities lie. Everything amazing and every achievement or accomplishment in the world, it all started from an unknown possibility. And everything that could happen in the future is also in that realm of an unknown possibility. Just because something's predictable based on your past, it doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that it's safe. It doesn't mean that you should ignore your internal values telling you that it's not what you really want in life. The unknown is where everything that you could ever want in life is waiting to be brought into existence. So we shouldn't fear it, but rather we should be excited and energized by it. So how am I reprogramming my mind? Well, I've had to change my definition of belief. So I know that there's this infinite pool of unknown possibilities. Like, there has to be, because that's where all of these amazing things that people have done have come from. So that's, in a way, the proof that I need in order to know that. And that gives me the comfort of knowing that what I'm trying to achieve isn't impossible. It just hasn't happened yet, but it's out there waiting. So when I have these moments of doubts or fears about the unknown, instead of seeing what I'm doing as a blind leap of faith, I now see it as tapping into this realm of infinite possibilities in the unknown. So I'm basically hacking my mind in a way to believe in something which hasn't happened yet without proof. By changing my meaning of belief so that it's easier for my mind, which has had 8 years of programming based on knowing and being able to predict everything, to accept and internalize this meaning so that I can actually have belief in myself. So whenever I have these doubts or fears about the unknown, I cut them off straight away, and I tell myself that I know out there in the unknown, there's the exact possibility of everything I want that's gonna make its way to me. And we'll end it there today, guys, because I want to do a video about the law of attraction, but I want to do it once I can show you some real evidence based on my personal experience of what I'm doing at the moment. So make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on so that you can catch that video once it's uploaded. If you're on a similar journey making a big change in your life, please drop a comment below to share your thoughts. And if you found this video helpful and inspiring, please like and subscribe. See you next time.